Is the American dream a perilous journey for immigrants or a beacon of safety? This is the story of Sussanna Morales, a young immigrant whose tragic fate challenges our assumptions. Sussanna, an effervescent 16-year-old, was one among countless Latin Americans who embarked on a treacherous journey towards the north. She was part of a family that, like many others, left their homeland in search of a life free from the shackles of poverty, systemic oppression, and state violence. The United States, with its glittering skyline and promises of liberty, offered a beacon of hope. But little did they know the perils they sought to escape would follow them into their sanctuary. July 26, 2022, was a day that would forever be etched in the Morales family's memory. It was the day Sussanna went missing, a day when their dreams turned into a living nightmare. As the sun set and the hours passed, their worry deepened. Their daughter, their sister, their Sussanna, was nowhere to be found. When they turned to the local police for help, they were met with indifference. The Gwinnett County Police, dismissive and detached, chalked up Sussanna's disappearance to a case of a teenage runaway. The Morales family pleaded, argued, and insisted that Sussanna would never do such a thing. But their cries fell on deaf ears, their fears brushed under the rug. The law enforcement, sworn to protect and serve, failed to take immediate action. A teenage girl had vanished into thin air, yet the urgency, the seriousness of the situation seemed to elude them. The family was left to grapple with their fear and uncertainty, their desperate hope for Sussanna's safe return fading with each passing moment. But as we would soon discover, this was not a simple case of a teenage runaway. On February 6th, an unsettling discovery would shatter any remaining hopes of Sussanna's safe return. The hopes and prayers of friends, family, and well-wishers were dashed when the unthinkable was discovered. In the quiet woods of an Atlanta suburb, a grim discovery was made. The remains of young Sussanna Morales, the 16-year-old who had been missing since July 26, 2022, were found. A chilling end to a search filled with hope and desperation. But the shocks didn't stop there. The primary suspect in this heinous crime was none other than Georgia officer Miles Bryant. Yes, you heard that right. A law enforcement officer, someone who had sworn an oath to protect and serve, was now the main suspect in this horrifying crime. The very institution that is supposed to safeguard the lives and rights of people now stood accused of violating the most sacred of those rights, the right to life. A wave of disbelief swept across the community. How could a person tasked with the duty of protection be implicated in such a horrific crime? The questions were many, the answers few and unsatisfactory. The trust that had been placed in law enforcement was shattered, replaced by a deep-seated fear and mistrust. Throughout the investigation, the Gwinnett County Police had dismissed the Morales family's concerns, insisting that Sussanna was just a runaway. Despite the family's pleas that their daughter would never do such a thing, that she was on her way home when they last contacted her, their cries fell on deaf ears. The very people that were supposed to protect and serve Sussanna failed her. And then came the final blow, confirming the Morales family's worst fears. Their daughter hadn't just run away. She had been kidnapped and murdered by a law enforcement officer, someone who should have been a pillar of safety and security in their new home. As the truth began to unravel, the Morales family's worst fears were confirmed. The devastating loss of their daughter, coupled with the shocking revelation of her assailant, left them grappling with an unimaginable reality. The dream of a safer life in the United States had turned into their worst nightmare. Following this gruesome discovery, the spotlight turned on the very institution sworn to protect the likes of Sussanna, the law enforcement. It unraveled a tale of missed opportunities, lack of urgency, and a seemingly dismissive attitude towards the concerns of a frantic family desperate for their daughter's safe return. Enter Georgia officer Miles Bryant, the primary suspect in this horrifying case. In a twist of irony, the man who once pledged to serve and protect was now at the center of a shocking investigation. Bryant was swiftly dismissed from his position at the Unravel County Police Department, a clear sign of the gravity of the accusations against him. But the charges were more than just a dismissal from duty. Bryant faced a string of serious allegations: felony murder and kidnapping, first-degree burglary, filing a false report of a crime, and concealing the death of another. A grim list that painted a chilling picture of the man behind the badge. And this wasn't Bryant's first brush with controversy. A history of stalking, harassing, and inappropriate behavior towards women and girls trailed behind him, adding another layer of complexity to an already intricate and disturbing case. Yet what was arguably as unsettling as the charges against Bryant was the lackadaisical approach taken by the Gwinnett County Police during the initial investigation. The Morales family's pleas were dismissed, their fears brushed aside with the claim that Sussanna was merely a runaway. A critical 48-hour period was lost, a period that could have potentially changed the course of events, saved a life. This perceived lack of urgency and transparency in the investigation not only added to the family's anguish, but also raised serious questions about the handling of missing persons cases by law enforcement. Sussanna's story was beginning to expose some unsettling realities about law enforcement and their handling of missing persons cases. In the face of their devastating loss, the Morales family found a new purpose: fighting for justice. They refused to let Sussanna's story fade into the background, obscured by the very system that was supposed to protect her. In response to the tragedy, the Morales family launched the Justice for Sussanna petition. This wasn't just about their daughter. It was about every family who had been failed by the system, every child left unprotected, every voice silenced. Their demands were clear and carried a resonance that echoed far beyond their personal tragedy. Firstly, they demanded a fair and transparent investigation from the Unravel County Police Department. They insisted that every stone be turned, every lead be followed, every question be answered. They demanded that the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, be brought to light. Their next demand was that Miles Bryant be tried under the full extent of the law. They demanded that his position as a law enforcement officer not be a shield for his actions, but rather a magnifying glass that highlighted the severity of his betrayal. The Morales family also sought acknowledgement that Title 35 of the Georgia Code was violated when officers insisted they needed to wait 48 hours before reporting Sussanna missing. This delay, they argued, could have cost Sussanna her life. They demanded that this violation not be swept under the rug, but be addressed and rectified. Lastly, they called for changes to the process for missing minors. They demanded that families be given access to full transparency during investigations. They insisted that the system be changed so that no other family would have to endure the pain and frustration they had experienced. The Morales family, in their grief, became a beacon of hope and resilience. They stood tall, not just for their beloved Sussanna, but for every family who had been let down by the system. They became the voice for the voiceless, the champions for the forgotten. In their quest for justice, the Morales family has become a voice for all the families who have suffered similar fates. They have chosen to fight, not just for Sussanna, but for every child lost in the shadows of a system that failed them. Sussanna's tragic story serves as a wake-up call, challenging our perceptions of safety and justice. In this complex tale of hope and despair, we've seen how the quest for a safer existence can lead to unthinkable tragedy. Sussanna Morales, a 16-year-old girl, left her home in Latin America in search of a better life, only to become a victim of the very system she sought protection from. Her story is not an isolated incident. It is an echo of the experiences of countless families from Mexico, South America, Central America, and the Caribbean. These families embark on a perilous journey to the United States, believing it to be safer than their homelands. But as we've seen, safety is not always guaranteed, even in the land of the free. The Morales family's ordeal underscores the pressing need for systemic change in how law enforcement agencies handle missing persons cases, particularly those involving immigrants. The dismissal of their concerns, the delay in launching an investigation, the violation of Title 35 of the Georgia Code, these are not mere oversights. They are indicative of a system that is failing to uphold its duty to protect and serve all its citizens. This is not just about one case or one officer or one police department. It's about a pattern of behavior that needs to be addressed at a systemic level. It's about acknowledging and rectifying the inherent biases that can cloud judgment and hinder justice. It's about holding those in power accountable for their actions and ensuring that they are not above the law. Sussanna's story has broader implications for the immigrant community. It is a stark reminder that the fight for a better life does not end at the border. It continues in the struggle for equal treatment, respect, and justice. As we remember Sussanna Morales, we are reminded of the urgent need for change, for justice, and for a truly safe haven for all.